Hey y'all, welcome back to Maxie's Kitchen. My name is Maxlin. If this is your first time here, today I'm going to be sharing a very special recipe with you guys. I'm teaching you how to make a Jamaican curry goat. Okay, this was so flavorful. It tasted so good. This is one of the best things I've tasted in a very long time, and I want to share the recipe with you guys. So don't go anywhere. Stick and stay tuned to the channel. Okay, so we're going to start off by making a green marinade, and here's a list of all the ingredients you need for that. And then here are the ingredients you would need to make the curry goats and a list of spices too. Now, this green marinade is something that is used in a lot of Jamaican dishes, I've realized. And people make their green marinade differently. Okay, this is just my recipe. I just put together a bunch of green herbs, spring onions, green bell peppers, green things, and then some onions, garlic. Just follow the ingredient list that I've put there. And for the chili, if you don't want it to be too spicy, don't use a lot. I only used this one because it was really huge and it is very spicy. Okay. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the oil. I didn't give a specific measurements because you just need enough oil to make a paste. And the reason we're not using water instead of oil is because oil works very well as a binding agent. It helps the marinade stick better to whatever protein that you're making. So please do use oil, don't use water. Now, a lot of people use blender to make this marinade, okay? You can use your blender, you will get a smooth paste, which is perfect as well. I just like to use my chopper because I like to get a rough paste. So do what you like. So let me talk to you guys a bit about the herbs that I used. I used some parsley, coriander, or cilantro, and thyme. I think the most important herb in this dish is the thyme. Okay, so I added about 8 sprigs of thyme and then a handful of parsley and a handful of coriander. Use as much or as little as you want. Now, the reason why I've had to do this in bits is because of how small my chopper cup is. If you're using a blender, you would most probably be able to put all of the ingredients in and the oil at one go, okay? So I was adding the allspice, the whole allspice in now. That was the whole allspice or pimento. Now, if you don't have the whole ones, you can use powdered allspice. Okay, I think that's easy to find. And then I also added in the lime juice. I added a little bit of oil and then I chopped this up for the very last time. This is a lot of marinade. I think we'll only be using about 2 tablespoons, but this is a very versatile marinade. You can use it to marinate chicken, meat, whatever you like. So you can keep it in your fridge or freezer and then use it for any type of protein that you want to make. Now I have my goat's meat that I cleaned, deboned, and I cut off excess fat from this goat's meat. And then I sort of patted it dry. I didn't want any extra moisture or any extra water in the goat's meat. So you guys can tell from this angle that it looks really good. And I started spicing it up with some black pepper and salt to taste. I didn't give exact measurements for this because I want you guys to season this according to your taste, okay? I added in complete seasoning by BADIA. This is my favorite all-purpose seasoning. Just use whatever all-purpose seasoning that you like. I added a little bit of chili powder for extra heat. And then I also added in my ginger powder, garlic powder, and allspice. Now, the allspice or pimento berries aren't that hard to crush, so I just used a madras that I have to crush a couple of the berries up to get the allspice powder. So just in case you don't have the powder, you can do that. Now, I added in 1 tablespoon of madras curry. Now, this madras curry, I didn't even know about this until I made this recipe. It has a very intense flavor. It's more flavorful than regular curry, so please use a madras curry. I will show you the brand that I used later on in the video. And then I added in 2 tablespoons of the green marinade we made, a little drizzle of oil, and then I went in with my clean hands to massage the marinade into the goat meat. Okay, Now do this very well. If you have gloves, you can put them on. Okay, if you don't, just make sure that your hands are extremely clean. I also added in some extra thyme. I told you guys from the start that thyme is like the most important herb for this recipe, so make sure you have some fresh thyme. And then once the goat's meat was entirely covered in the marinade, I covered it and put it in the fridge overnight. This is so important. If you need to make the same day, marinate this for at least 4 hours. So this was the next day, and I made the curry on this day. So I started off by putting about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil into my pot over medium to high heat. And once that heated up slightly, I went in with about a teaspoon of the madras curry I spoke about. Now they are different brands, but this is the brand that I use. Okay, they have it in mild and I think hot, but I just wanted to work with the mild flavor, so I went in for that. So once you add in your curry, once that heats up, you want to go in with your chopped onion and then stir fry that for about 1 to 1.5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to add in the goat meat that we marinated overnight. Okay, we're going to add all of it into this pot over medium to high heat. We're going to give that a good stir, make sure that it develops its own juices before we go in with some water. I'm sure you guys can already tell that this is going to be so flavorful because just think about the amount of spices and natural ingredients we used for that green marinade, and already it's looking so juicy. So we're not even going to rush and add water now. Like I said, we're going to let the goat meat sit in its own juices for about 10 minutes before we add some water. Okay, so it's going to start frying sort of, but it's not going to turn brown. Okay, after a while it's going to release its own juices, like I said, like water. So it's going to look like we added some water, but then we're not going to add in any water until we see that. So covering your pot when you're making this helps to release the juices I spoke about, because it helps the goat meat is actually steam. So you guys can see that we're getting a little bit of liquid, but this isn't enough. I'm just going to give that a quick stir, cover it again, and the second time, which was about after 10 minutes, we had a lot of juice. You see this is exactly what you want to achieve before you think about adding water. Now all this liquid is from the goat's meat, okay? This is all flavor from the goat's meat, and that is exactly what you want. Once you see this, you're ready to add in some water. But before then, I'm going to add in one red scotch bonnet pepper. Now scotch bonnet peppers are very spicy, but I decided to make a slit on my scotch bonnet pepper because I wanted extra heat. This is very optional. If you don't like spicy food, please don't do that. So I just threw the scotch bonnet pepper in. I also added 2 teaspoons of the green marinade that we made for extra flavor. So after I mixed that in, I went in to add in some water. I added about 2.5 cups of warm water. Okay, I rinsed the bowl that we marinated the goat's meat in just to get all of the extra flavors stuck in that bowl. I rinsed that with the warm water and I added it in. Now after adding the water, your pot might be looking like a pot of soup because everything will be very thin, okay, as you guys can see. But don't worry, this is super important because you want your goat meat to be full of the bone tender, and to do that you need a lot of water and you need to be extremely patient. After I did this, I covered the pot and let it cook on medium to low heat for about 1 hour. So I checked the curry intermittently. I checked it about every 30 minutes, okay, just because I wanted to mix it, not because it was going to burn, because remember, you want to cook this on medium to low heat. And after about an hour and let's say 15 minutes, you should get something like this, okay? Now, this isn't the consistency we're going for, but we can tell that a lot of the water has evaporated or the curry has reduced, okay? The curry has reduced, and that's what you want. At this point, I'm going to add in some chopped carrots. Now, this adds extra flavor and it's just really nice when you're eating the curry and you bite into a very soft carrot. Trust me, it's really good. So I added in the carrots at this stage and I let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes before I went in to add the potatoes. You guys can tell that the curry has become thicker than it was when we added in the carrots, and this is a perfect time to add in your potatoes. Now, the starch in the potatoes is also going to help to thicken the curry, okay? So if you're even quite worried that your curry is still a little bit on the thin side, this would help to thicken your curry. And at this point, the goat meat was fall off the bone tender. It was so tender, and that is what you want to achieve. And that is actually why from the very start we added in a lot of water to help the goat meat cook properly. So after adding in your diced potatoes, you want to cover for about 10 to 15 minutes as well until your potatoes are tender. Once your potatoes are tender, that is all, guys. Your curry is ready. Now, I didn't talk about adjusting with salt because we already spiced the goat meat from the very start. But at this point, you want to taste to see if you need to adjust with salt. And I think that's the only seasoning you might need. And that's all. I just garnished it with some spring onions. I think I added in a little bit of thyme as well, and yeah, it was ready to go. I made some rice and peas and served this with it, and guys, let me tell you, this is the best thing I've eaten in a very long time. I kid you not. You can ask Megan. Like, I need you guys to try this recipe and please give me the feedback. And next week I'll be bringing you the rice and peas recipe. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video very much, and I really hope that you guys subscribe to my channel, share this recipe with a friend, and let me know what you think about it when you try it, okay? I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.